Well, hello everyone. I'm Assistant Professor Dr. Güliz Özatürk from Cyprus International University. And we have an article which is called Cyprus Turkish Children's Literature and Contemporary Women Writers. In our study, basically, for the introduction part, I'd like to say that due to its geographical position, Cyprus is located in Anatolia, Syria, and Egypt in the East Mediterranean Sea. So since the early ages of history, this island attracted the attention of the great powers in the region and coins conflict between them. So when we think the island has hosted many civilizations during various periods of history and just draws the attention to various powers. So we can say these differences have caused the inhabitants of this region to meet various cultures. Culture differences are very effective in taking an identity at changes. So when it just develops and then reaches people, Cyprus is just too called island for political events. The literary studies of the Turks living in the north, especially in the last 50 years, are striking. These studies are just examined by literary scholars by separating them from historical periods. So this distinction, not from the great turning in literature or from historical periods. So this distinction, not from the great tuning in the literature or from the races, the turbulent, stormy, and tragic life of the Turkish Cypriot communities due to its involvement in literature. So each period took places in the life and cultural life of the Turkish Cypriot people with their own agenda, artists, and studies. So we can say that the concepts of the children's literature, which has existed in the traditional structure of Turkish literature, but just coming a literary dictionary in the particular and noticeably by the researchers. The concept of child is one of the most widely discussed concepts today. So nowadays, the concept of childhood is mostly explained through the definition of the Convention on the Rights of the Child adopted by the United Nations 1989. So we did this adoption in 191 countries. Everyone is defined a child up the age and 18, except the case of early age, then law applicably to the child under the convention. So the concept of child expressed in this way by the United Nations differs from culture to culture and time. So in the same way, the definition differs in various ways which exist. So in Turkish dictionary, we can define it as the young boy or girl or son or daughter in this or boys or girls in developmental period between infancy, adolescence. So there are lots of definitions which are done, but when we just look for the other people in the literature, we see that a person reading a novel, poem, story carries person's attention to the world with an eye to artist. And we can say that in this sense, children's studies of literature indicate in early childhood, they help to interpret the choice event cases and situations from the artist's point of view. So when we consider literature, which is necessity in that case, it is a tool that allows the child to have a good time, increases the power of life, guides life definition, and has just creating the studies with the beautiful language. So as child's literature studies, there are various folk literature studies written from the past through the present day. So these are the explanations that are taught from the beginning, ties and just creating the society about culture, heritage that carry many cultural historical features. What we can say more about here, in this study, women writers and their studies in the field of children's literature in Northern Cyprus will be examined. So when we just look at the writers of contemporary children's literature, it is conspicuous that the vast majority of the names in this field are female. So from that moment on, it is possible to imagine that the first shelter, the mother tongue, is a role that your mother has taken as the first teacher to help you identify your life. So just also children's literature is super critical as it helps the child with the help of comprehending to the literature, evolve personal opinions. Furthermore, we can say it just motivates children's mental and social skills to grow healthily. Especially supporting children with all types of literature is just important for their future to gain success. So it is not only reading skills which develops, but also enables children to gain studying and better school records. We see that contemporary Turkish Cypriot writers give various studies, especially on children's literature. So it is spectacular that the writers who give children's literature studies of women in general. So these are the Ayşen Dağlı and Susan Polat. In the field of poetry, Shirin Zaferi Yıldızı and Neriman Cahit. In the field of children's stories and novels, such as Sonay Yakup Yakupsoy, Derya Atamer, and Hawa Tekin are just the remarkable writers. So one of the most important elements of understanding the literature of observation from the moment of the children is born, he or just she watches what is happening around him or her. So these observations are very useful in the child's language development. In the first stage, written works mediate the most perfect use of the language itself. So children's literature facilitates children's language development. So according to the Chomsky, so children learn the language they hear. The more there is an environment to develop the language, the more languages children benefit from the learning. So just children literature, the cornerstone of the literacy striking from the kindergarten, the insufficiency of studies that fully reveal the contribution of the books written for children to reading development limits the provisions given on this just subject. So while some researchers draw attention to the importance of the work in developing reading skills, some researchers also draw attention on the importance of other activities supporting reading rather than the work. So besides language learning, children's literature is also important in learning reading, based on the fact that reading is habit. The importance of children's literature is an just indicator of life literacy should be reading development. There would be serious changes, understanding, especially starting with the textbooks for the children, in all kinds of supplementary resources and supportive publications. Children's development levels, comprehension, and perception capacities were taken into consideration. So as a result, different reading practices began to be carried out by focusing on the variety of reading activities. So the most important element that enriches and supports all these activities was just children's literature. It is not possible to follow uniform method to benefit from children's literature, but together all the interest in reading, as it just taught genres such as stories and novels are not enough to improve reading. It is necessary to benefit from the subjects that the child encounters in his life and all the genres included in the concept of the literature. When we just look for the functions of children's literature studies, we see that the studies written in the field of contemporary children's literature are mostly given in children's books, poems, and novels. So when we look at the literature, it is seen that all topics written in this area contribute to the development and education of the child. So the fairy tale and the most important species is a spicy that brings of other experiences to life with other characters in the words and enriches the entertainment, their fantasy worlds, the journey that children take off. As knowledge is getting off the mastery of curiosity from riddles, the result is both amusing and thought-provoking. So harmonious expression in the text of riddles also influences the language development of the child. So they have quality that motivates the child to listen with a fun and harmonious way. Generally, the rhymes consist of rhyming, and the words with each other also referred to as phrases that are made of measured imitations of sounds and repetitions. Rhymes, on the other hand, are also contributing child's language development like riddles. On the other hand, lullabies are the loveliest items that mothers begin with the expression and like lullaby, my baby lullaby, to tell their children to claim, calming down and sleep. So on the other hand, we can say that lullabies are the folk songs that consist of many type countries that the mothers of the children up to age 4 sang on their laps, feet, or cradles to put them to sleep or stop crying. Furthermore, we have poetry, and which is separated from the other literary genres by various expressions and features such as imagination, emotion, harmony, and measurement. So poems are a higher form of the expression than prose. So another important part of the children's literature genre are children's stories and novels. So children who have traveled through fantasy journey with the tales and have fun from the riddles and the rhymes and express their feelings with the poems that now take and step into a bit more high real world. Furthermore, for the importance of the research, we can say this study is the term of contributing to the field of children's literature, which is an important deficiency in Turkish Cypriot literature. So in today's world, a child's literature concepts gain importance. It will emphasize the importance of children's literary authors and their studies aiming to adapt to the new world and provide reading culture and reading habits, one of the basic principles of raising technology as creatable individuals who enter into the world of children and develop there with their literary texts. So the educational contribution of these texts will be examined with the examples of the children's world, will be revealed through eyes of female authors. Thus, the aim of this study is to find contemporary Turkish Cypriot women writers writing on children literature according to story mapping method. The following questions are sought to achieve that goal. So the first one is, how are the language based on Cyprus Turkish children literature elements evaluation according to the contemporary women writers literary study? And the second question was, what are the use of Cyprus Turkish children literature elements in the stories? When we look for the methodology, research models in this study is the qualitative research method. And here, in this qualitative research, one searching for the answers to a question using the defined set of operations, strong aspects of qualitative research experiences of individuals, and research provide information. Most of the time, contradictory behaviors, beliefs, or opinions, feelings, relations with research subjects related individuals were tried to be analyzed. Specifically, the content analysis method was used with the document analysis in the process of examining the women writers' frameworks in the terms of various variables. So it will be just used in discourse analysis in order to evaluate depth, the finding of content analysis. So the books examined in the research was non-random sampling was used as a sampling method. So proposed sample was picked to collect data in the research duration. The books were examined according to 3 phases. The first phase was the period that they published. The second phase was examined according to age ranges for children's literature. And the third phase was the type of the books. So during there, with the data collection, in the research, the data was collected from the books included contemporary women writers at the first stage. Then in the second stage, the writers collected data from Cyprus-Turkish children's literature according to their age ranges, their stages, and the types. In the data analysis part, the books to be examined in the study were selected by the researchers according to certain criteria. With this criteria, Cyprus-Turkish children's literature books were scanned, and every researcher scanned the books according to their types, thus preventing the researchers to reach the same book. Then overlapping from these books by the same year were eliminated. As another criteria, the books on the genre related to Cyprus-Turkish children's literature are discussed, and the books in accordance with the criteria determined. As a result, they were analyzed with content analysis in terms of variables such as publication year, type, and genre of the language usage. So 14 books, which belongs to Cyprus-Turkish children's literature, tried to be identified natural way and included into content analysis. In the finding parts, the language development based on Cyprus-Turkish children's literature elements evaluation according to contemporary women writers, literary studies, looked, and according to here, we just analyzed according to their lullabies, poems, and figure out most of the time with the receptive part of the skill, like storytelling and reading part, which are the positive impact on the language development we have seen. Besides that, we reached for the Cyprus-Turkish children's elements in the stories according to the years. Within these 14 books, we reached 5 for the others and 9 for the children one, with the Ayşen Dağlar's books, which she was using the role is neat for the mosques, and that the fact are created by the big ones. And we reached Acemi Dilci, and which is prepared with and published with the Dağlar's in 2010. In 1993, Ayşen Dağlar's book, and we reached for the Derya Atamir's in 2017, which is published in Kyrenia, and the name of the book was The Lost Treasure. With the historical ones, Derya Atamir, we have published 1974 Paris novel called The Children Green Island, and with the 2 close friends, Cengiz and Yorgo, in 2013, the book name called Peace. And we have Tekin's and other children's novel, Beyond the Seas. We have 2017 Tekin's novel, Adventure, narrative fascinating, the book's extraordinary journeys. And as a result, in the conclusion part, we can say children's literature is a field that has not been adequately studied in the Turkish Cypriot literature. So in today's world, we can say the awareness about the concepts that the child and children literature is increasing. And as modern technology affects every aspect of the society, major changes in education and family concepts have also revolutionized, and we see that audiovisual tools are often contribute to the education on the technological dimension. And however, the literary texts are as valuable and important as pleasure and meeting with the literature. So tales, lullabies, riddles, short stories, novels, children's literature works provide great contributions to children both cognitively and emotionally. So women who created such works often tried to give these works a different dimension with the maternal instinct they carry. So we can say that Turkish Cypriot literature, the women in various roles in societies also reflected in their literary works. So among the topics, Cypriot women writers often work on the love, motherhood, and child value with the children, and the promotion of the culture, the desire to live in peace, environmental awareness, technology dependency, working parents, and child relations. Along with the changing world, many perceptions in our lives also change this concept. So thank you very much for listening our article.